features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
There is a storm brewing, the clouds are rolling in. It is a beautiful afternoon and there is a threat of rain. This is Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon everybody, and welcome to your Thursday sunset safari here from the wilds of wildest southern Africa. It is a glorious 25 degrees Celsius and 77 degrees Fahrenheit. My name is James Henry, and I will be your host for this evening. Well, that's not strictly true. I'm just going to be yakking at you from the tent as I normally am. Hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us, and the reason for this, well, slightly repetitive beginning is the same as we had yesterday afternoon. I hope it looked slightly better today, is of course because we are practicing for our television special coming up on the weekend. We are going to be broadcasting 2 live shows on US television from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock Central African time. You can, of course, watch them on the internet as you always do if you'd like to, that's no problem. But they will be from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Saturday and on Sunday, so a Mother's Day weekend special. We're going to head across to Tristan now. I'm not sure what he's doing, I'm not sure where he's going, I'm not even sure what he's driving. In fact, we are not going anywhere near Tristan because he has got no signal. Good. So let us go back into the tent. It's such a pleasant afternoon out here. And oh, I forgot. There are 3 schools joining us, and you know, I've been so amazingly poor about checking who they are that I don't remember, and I'm going to ask Kirsten to tell me again. Diamond Springs, Mary K. Good, and College Park Elementary Schools all. You're all from Virginia Beach, Virginia, and you are 6 to 7 years old. You're tiny people. Tiny people, come with me. I didn't realize you were so tiny today. Now you must please talk to us over the course of the next little while you're in your classroom. You can do that through your teacher. You just ask her any question you like and we'll do our very best to answer. Okay. I've got Fergus, he's my friend on camera today. Hello. And he's filming me, that's him saying hello. And we are hopefully going to find you some wonderful things around the tent. But my friend Tristan, he's out in the wilderness right now, and he's managed to find something that is quite similar to an American bison.
We have indeed, James. We've managed to find the African version of a bison, and that is a Cape buffalo. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Sebastian, and we are out here to try and show you as many things as we can from the African wilderness. Now, the African buffalo that we have lying in that wallow, which we'll get to in a little bit, is quite an interesting fella. They're quite aggressive and can be really, really dangerous. You have to be quite careful around them. Luckily in the cars, the buffalo is actually not too bad, and we can stay quite close, and we can then watch as they sit and wallow and spend their time in the beautiful afternoon light and take the time to have a little swim. Now, remember, you can ask any questions that you want to ask about the buffalo. You can ask your teachers, and they will send through the questions if you want to know more about these beautiful animals. And these are both males. These are 2 boys that have found each other and made a sort of friendship, and they'll be protecting one another from predators. And you find that they'll often come to places like this in the afternoon because it's been quite hot today. So when the sun is out and it's shining, because they're very big animals, it's like us, we get very, very hot in the sun. So they then go towards the mud wallow where they climb in, and they'll go and lie there, and they sit and they just get nice and cool. And the other reason why they go there is because they are helping to get rid of parasites. So when we talk about parasites, we're talking about ticks and varying other little sort of organisms that live on the buffalo that cause the buffalo to scratch and to itch, and it's very uncomfortable. And so they go and lie in the water because there's a little freshwater turtle that can eat all of those ticks. And also you see the birds that are flying around, those will come and land and help to keep the buffalo nice and clean. So those are called oxpeckers, and there's red-billed oxpeckers. Now I know there's been a yellow-billed oxpecker hanging around, and those are quite rare. We don't see them too much, so I'm trying to see if there's any yellow-billed oxpeckers there, but it looks like all red-bills at the moment. And those ones you can see don't have red beaks at all, or yellow beaks, and that's because those are the babies. So those are the little ones that are still growing, and their beaks will change color as they get a little bit older. But you can see how they're working, trying to get rid of those parasites. So Ethan, you want to know what buffaloes eat? Well, buffaloes eat grass, mostly anyway, and they will try and feed off all the grass that we have in this area. You can see there's some on the edge of the water there, and those are the kind of things that they like to feed on. Sometimes though, when it gets very, very dry, like it did last year we had a drought, which means that we didn't get enough rain for the grass to grow, then the buffalo will sometimes eat the leaves off the trees. But it's very, very bad for the buffalo to eat the leaves off the trees. The leaves contain a chemical called tannins, and those tannins are very bad for the buffalo's tummy, and it makes him have an upset stomach, and he can actually do a lot of damage to his tummy and maybe even die from it. So they're supposed to only eat grass. They're like a cow in that way. They're grass feeders, and they have a very special tummy which has got a 4-chambered stomach, which means that when they eat their grass, they can then come and lie here when it's hot, and they can bring up balls of grass back into their mouth and re-chew them so that they gain all the nutrients, and they don't have to spend the entire day in the hot sun feeding. They can spend time relaxing and resting and still gaining all the nutrients that they need to survive. Anthony, you're wondering if we could ride one of these. Well, Anthony, I suppose you could try, but it's not probably going to end up very well. A buffalo is a very, very grumpy animal, so if you tried to go and jump on that buffalo, you're going to have a very tough time. I think the buffalo would more than likely hurt you very, very badly. They don't like when people come very close to them, and often they'll chase you up into a tree, and they've got very nasty horns, so you wouldn't want to get too close to a buffalo. So I think it would be a very bad idea to be trying to ride a buffalo, but it's not to say that somebody maybe couldn't. I suppose you could do it, but it would be a very, 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 very bad idea. Also, these animals out here are all wild animals, so they're not used to people coming very, very close, and so you're going to end up with a situation, if you do get too close to them, they might get scared and either run away, or they're going to try and attack you to defend themselves and make sure that you don't hurt them. But I see there's a third buffalo that's just coming from the back now, so he's a sneaky little buffalo that's been behind the trees, and you can see how well they actually camouflage. Can you see him there? Yeah. There he is. He's coming out of the dark thickets, and so he actually blends in very, very well. And he's coming to join his friends. These three have actually been hanging around quite a bit the last few days. We've been seeing them fairly often, which is nice. And the other one is now stood up. I wonder if he's going to just turn around. So you can see the water is not very deep at all. That's why he's lying there. Oh, you've got a bit of rubbing up against one another. So Hayden, you're wondering why they have horns. Well, the horns are there so that they can defend themselves from predators like lions. If a lion tries to jump onto this buffalo, it can use its horn and try and hit that lion and try and chase it away with those horns. And the other reason why they've got horns is to protect their skulls from when they fight, when they are trying to determine a territory. So when we talk about a territory, buffalo will try and have an area that they set up. Like us as people, we have a home with our garden, and that's how the buffalo does it. They will try and have an area that they can then sort of challenge other males and chase them away, and then have females there and start a family. So that's why they have those horns, is to be able to then fight with one another. Oopsie, it's time to go to the toilet. So you can see a buffalo is a bit of a dirty animal. They don't mind going to the toilet in the water that they lie in, and sometimes will even drink. So that's a very naughty buffalo. I'm sure his friends are not going to be too happy with him at all. I certainly wouldn't be happy if my friend did that, but let's see how the others react. They don't seem to be too worried about it. The one lying in the water and the one at the back seems to be fairly sort of okay with this whole process. I'm sure it happens very often. But you can see that is a really, really big animal. Look at all the muscles on his shoulders and around his neck. absolutely massive. And so that's why the only thing that really can hunt these guys is lions. The lions are the only ones, because they group together in a pride, they're able to overpower these buffalo by combining their forces. A buffalo of this size is weighing about 900 kilograms or almost 2,000 pounds. So they really are very, very heavy, and all of their body is just strong muscles. And so it takes a lot of lions to be able to bring them down and make a meal out of them. But everybody seems quite relaxed with the fact that he went to the toilet. They're all sort of taking it easy. You can see that one is almost asleep. His eyes are closing. Oh, very, very sleepy afternoon. And why not? It's a beautiful afternoon for a rest in the nice, cool water. Now, I believe James, who's in his tent, has found something very, very interesting that he wants to show you up close.
I bet you all had a very loud, hard laugh when that buffalo took its poop in the water. Very disgusting buffalo, wasn't it? Look at this spectacular, spectacular creature, and I bet there's some of you going, "Oh, careful, it's going to bite you." Look, it's coming towards me. Hello, my dear. Hello, how are you? It's lovely to see you. This is a mantis, everybody. And the mantis, although she's a predator, and that means she will eat other insects, she's not really harmful to me. She could possibly create a little bit of damage to my skin. If you look at the front of her legs there, she's got quite nasty claws, so she might open them as I move my finger towards her. Come on, open up. There, you can see them. And she's sometimes called a praying mantis, and you can see why. Doesn't it look like she's praying? And she's just sitting on me because, well, I think she's quite comfortable there. You see, I had my bath before I came to work today, and so obviously I'm not too smelly today. That's a good thing, don't you think? All right, let's leave her there. She's really very pretty. In fact, let's keep looking at her for now. Dage, you wonder why it is that we do this show. Well, Dage, there are different reasons for why we do this show. You can see my back. I'm sorry I'm not looking at you. It's a little bit difficult because you're looking at the mantis. Dage, we do this show because we enjoy it, and because, well, you're in school, right? And there are lots of people in the United States and all around the world who can't be in Africa. And yet, Africa is very interesting to lots and lots of people. And now, these days, with the internet the way it is, we can help people. It's sneaking up on me. Look how it's sneaking up on my neck. It's going to touch me. Ooh. Ooh. Now, Angela, you're wondering if the mantis bites. No, it doesn't bite. But it can scratch with those claws, but it won't scratch me. It's not trying to hurt me. So I just want to quickly finish Gage's story there. So there are lots of people around the world, Gage, who want to see Africa, but you know, sometimes they don't have enough money to come here, or sometimes they just will never have the opportunity to travel to Africa. And so we do this show to show them Africa every single day. Isn't that cool? Look, she's cleaning her legs. Oh, this is wonderful. And look at her eyes. She's now looking backwards with the one eye. Oh, I think this is very, very special, everybody. She is a beautiful mantis, and she's obviously not very young. You can see she's missed her one piece of antenna there. I don't know if you can see that. The left antenna is missing a piece. Gage, you're wondering what she eats. Well, like I said, Gage, she eats other insects. She's a predator. So she will catch things like flies and butterflies, and sometimes she'll catch things like other mantises. And you know what? The female mantises like to eat the males. So the mummy mantises eat the daddy mantises, which is not great, is it? It's really not very nice. But she's not going to try and eat me, I don't think. What do you think? Do you think she's going to try and eat me?
Depends if we get married or not.
I suppose it does depend if we get married, says Fergus. Good. Now that is the mantis. We're going to leave her right there. And from this rather unattractive sort of a beaker, if you like, we've got a worm. And we're going to put the worm under the microscope. Now, the microscope is huge fun because we can look at things in amazing detail. Let me just move it quickly so we can get a nice picture of this funny worm. Oh. Now, this thing looks like a worm, doesn't it? Well, it is a worm to some extent, but it is actually a larva, and that means that it's like a caterpillar. And one day you will learn how it is that a caterpillar becomes a moth or a butterfly. And sometimes things like beetles, well, they also make a worm like this before they become adult beetles. Now, if you look very carefully in there, you can see the bits and pieces moving inside the caterpillar. Isn't that amazing? I think that's very special. I'm just going to push him up a bit. Isn't that astounding? That's very special. So he's digesting, just like you are digesting your breakfast right now, and it's passing through your stomach and the various bits and pieces of what is known as your digestive tract. Well, that's what's happening right here with this quite astonishing little worm, which is actually probably going to be either a beetle or a moth. I think that's very special. Now, my friend Jamie Patterson is also out at the moment, and she had a very special time with some elephants yesterday. So why don't you ask her to tell you about that?
I did have a very special time with elephants yesterday, and I will tell you about that in 1 second, but a very good afternoon to all of you, and excuse me. Welcome on the Sunset Safari. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Craig is on camera with me, and a very special warm welcome to the schools joining us this afternoon. I hope you kids are excited. I hear James has been showing you some relatively disgusting things in his tent. James mentioned that I had an amazing elephant sighting yesterday, and I did. I got to see a tiny baby elephant, and not just one, but a couple of very young elephants playing in the sand. They were diving into the sand face first and climbing and posing. It was really very, very special. But the best part was then the elephants came right next to us, and there was a bit of a step that the elephants had to climb up. And the smallest baby couldn't quite get up. Mom got up, and then she kept reaching down to try and pull her baby up with her. And it was really quite a struggle, and it took the baby a long time. But I was a bit worried in the beginning because we were so close to the elephants, and I didn't want to switch on the engine and scare them. We were so close to the elephants, I was scared that Mom was going to get a bit upset with us because we were so close to her baby, and maybe if she was worried it couldn't come up the step, then she might have got a bit cross with us. But she didn't at all. She was perfectly relaxed. So you never know, maybe we'll come upon that same herd, maybe we'll come upon a different herd of elephants. I know that that would make my day. I'm going to go off in search of anything exciting to show you, but I know that Tristan's beaten me to it. Let's go back to the buffalo, enjoying a day at the pool.
So our buffalo are slowly but surely starting to move away. I think they've had enough pool time. Maybe they were a bit put off by their friends' very unfriendly or very bad behavior by defecating in their water. But you can see, look at the size of those horns and that head and the big eye. Such beautiful animals. So Ashanti, you're wondering how buffaloes sleep. Well, a buffalo will sleep by how we saw them just now. They'll lie down, sometimes in water, sometimes on land, and they just close their eyes and they sit and they sleep, sometimes with their head up, or they'll lie on their sides with their horns resting on the ground, like we would lie down if we were going to go to bed, and that's how they end up sleeping. But with the buffaloes, it can't always be very fast asleep like we are. Sometimes when we go to bed, then we wake up in the morning and we haven't heard a single sound. A buffalo can't sleep like that, because otherwise it's going to get itself into trouble with the lions, because the lions are going to come and they're going to try and attack the buffalo, and if it's not awake, it can get hurt very badly. So you'll find with buffalo that even though they're sleeping, their ears are still still listening, and any little sound that happens, the buffalo will open its eyes and it will look and make sure that it can see what's going on and make sure that there's no threat around it. Now you can see this buffalo is busy making his way out of his water hole. Antoine, you're wondering if people eat buffalo. Well, not very often. You can eat them, but the problem with them is that their meat tends to be very, very tough. So it's very chewy meat, and so normally if people use buffalo for food, they will do it in a pie, or they'll do it as a stew, or something like that, where they can cook the meat for a long period of time and make sure that it gets nice and tender for them to eat it. But it's not very commonly used because there's a lot of other animals that taste much better than buffalo. So like our impala that are in the distance over there, unfortunately they're a little bit hidden, but I'll go and show you what they look like now. They taste a lot better than buffalo, and so people don't really use the buffalo too much anymore and don't really feed off it, which is a good thing if you're a buffalo, not so good if you're another type of animal. Let's see now if we can try and find a better picture of these impalas. You alright there, Seb?
Yeah, good.
There we go, Seb, maybe let's, before they run away. But there's our male impala that is just disappearing. So these male impalas, they're about the size of a white-tailed deer, maybe a little bit smaller than your white-tailed deer. So I don't know if any of you know your deers and know how big they are, but that's about the size of that male impala. And the reason why he is on his own, or I think there might be one other there, is that it's now the time where the males are fighting. It's that time of the year where the males go and they clash horns and they try and chase each other around. So it's quite common to see a male impala by himself. Normally with impalas you would find in other times of the year lots and lots and lots of them together, and they form a nice big herd. But because the males are fighting, unfortunately he has to then go off on his own. And the reason why we know he's a male is because he's got horns. So you see those big horns that come off there. The females don't have any horns at all. Now I wonder if any of you can tell me what the difference is between horns or antlers that a deer has. So if you know the difference, you can tell your teachers and send through and see who can tell me what the difference between antlers and horns is and why I call these horns. Right, Seb, I think let's carry on, and while we give everybody a chance to answer that and see what else we can find, I want to just go and check another little water hole that's close by, because sometimes the elephants like to come and drink there. It's also a good place for two little leopards that spend time in this area. So I want to go and check that water hole and make sure that they're not sitting there while we have all of you with us this afternoon. But that was a nice surprise with the buffalo. See, they're all disappearing now into the riverbed, so they are not going to be seen for the rest of the day. I don't think it's going to be very thick in there, so nobody's going to find them, I don't think. And our impala has also now run off into the thicket. Oh no, there's another one there. But it is such a beautiful afternoon and such a nice day to be driving out in the bush, and one of my good friends is in another part of Africa and he's got a very special surprise for you. So let's go say hello to Brent.
Hi, welcome to all the schools. Guess what? You've just jumped all the way about 2,000 kilometers from South Africa to Kenya, and we're with a pride of lions, the Angama pride of lions. They have 7 cubs. There are 3 females with them at the moment. They are lying on the edge of a deep, deep little... But we've followed them for the last couple of hours, and I'm hoping they're going to get up and move. We've also found a male lion that's not too far from here, but there we go, the Angama pride, lots of little cubs. I can't wait to hear your questions. My name is Brent, I have VM on camera, and we are in the Masai Mara in Kenya. Aren't they just too cute? So I'm guessing these guys are about 5 months old. At the oldest, probably closer to 4 months.
Now what we've done, everybody, is we've returned this rather remarkable insect back to the wild. Isn't that nice? We don't want to keep them away from the wilderness because this is where she really should be living, out in the wild. Sorry we had to cut quickly to us. Sometimes a little bit difficult out here broadcasting because we're completely in the wilderness. It's like broadcasting all the way from Yellowstone National Park. So here she is, and now she's going to wait. And what she will need to do, although she is a predator, she'll have to be careful, because all around here there are lots and lots of things which might want to eat her. Birds would want to eat her. There might be some big spiders that might want to eat her. There could be, I don't know, maybe really large reptiles, like, say, a tree agama maybe want to eat her. And even an enormous chameleon would eat her. And that's why she's this very clever colour. She's this beautiful green colour, and that's called camouflage. I don't know if you've learned about camouflage yet. But camouflage is a nice word because it means to remain hidden. And you can see that she's the same colour as the leaf. And if I point on the back of her wings here, you can see that her wings look very similar to the leaves that she's walking amongst. Isn't that amazing? I think that's very special. Now she's looking at me. You see, I think she misses me. Do you miss me, Mrs. Mantis? You do? See how she's standing praying? She's looking at me in the eye. Now, Josh, you say, can a mantis fly? Yes, they can fly, Josh. Here are the wings, where I'm pointing now. There are the wings, and they can fly. And I don't know why she didn't fly earlier when I picked her up, because mantises fly very well, and normally if you try and pick them up, they'll fly away. But I think maybe she just had a huge meal. She's looking quite fat to me. Maybe she's had a huge meal, or she's about to lay her eggs, perhaps. That's possible. There she goes. And you can imagine, if you were a bird looking for things to eat, it'd be very difficult to see this mantis in amongst the leaves. Now, if she is about to lay her eggs, which she might be because we're getting to the end of summer, well, we're at the end of summer, we're into winter now, what she will do is make an amazing, amazing little sack of silk into which she'll lay her eggs. Now, I believe my other friend Ronald has got something to see. What's he got to see, Kirsty? A terrapin? Let's quickly have a look what he's looking at. There is Ronald, everybody, and Ronald is looking at a terrapin. Now, I bet that you in the United States would call something like that a turtle. It is not a turtle. It is a terrapin. Can you all say terrapin on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. Terrapin. Now, a terrapin is different from a turtle because it lives in fresh water, and a turtle lives in the sea. Isn't that beautiful? And what he's doing... Oh, and there's a little lizard as well. Just a little lizard scuttling past the front of Ronald's picture. Wonderful stuff. And the little terrapin is just thinking about... He's just thinking about staying warm, and at the same time he's looking at Ronald thinking, goodness gracious me, what is this strange thing? Now, Ronald, I don't know if we've got a picture of the dam cam, do we, of Ronald? No, we don't? Okay, well, Ronald looks like a little car. He looks like a little small car, like a little tank, actually. You all know what a tank looks like? Anyway, that's why it looks very strange to this terrapin, who's sitting there, breathing away and having a lovely time. Let's head across to Tristan, who has got some of my favourite pigs.
Well, I didn't know that these were your favorite, James, but I'm sure you'll have some luck at some stage, and maybe some will come wandering towards your tent, and you'll be able to watch them from there. But yes, we do. We have these warthogs, and they are at the little dam that I was talking about earlier. I was saying we were going to come to another waterhole to see if maybe there was some elephants or anything else that might be around, because it is quite hot this afternoon, so it's a perfect sort of temperature for animals to come down and have a little afternoon drink. And we found this beautiful family of warthogs, and now I'm not 100% sure how many there are there. I think, let's see, we'll count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. There's 8 warthogs together, which is quite nice. So we've got probably a male and a female, and then her babies from last year. And it's quite often that you see that, the male sort of hanging around, and normally it's a young male that might have been the offspring from the year before. So it might have been her baby from not last year October, the year before October, and they stay with their mom until she has her next lot of babies, and then he'll then make his way away from that area and go and find his own place. But those are the little ones that were born in October, so they are now about 7 or 8 months old, and so they're getting quite big already. When they're born, they are tiny, 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 and unfortunately when they're born, there's lots and lots of predators, so they have to be very careful. And that's why you can see they're feeding quite far from the edge of the water. They don't want to get too close to the water, because in case there are crocodiles here, and those babies would be a perfect snack for a crocodile. So Hunter, you're asking, why do the warthogs have horns? Well, Hunter, they don't have horns, they have what's called tusks. So there's a difference between horns and tusks, and I was asking you all earlier if you knew what the difference between antlers and horns was. So while we get onto that subject, let's talk about tusks and horns. Now, tusks are actually a modified tooth. So those warthogs have big teeth that are sticking out, and they have those to defend themselves, much like the buffalo has the horns. The warthog has those horns to defend themselves from other predators like leopard and lions. They'll try and use those tusks to fend them off. And then also if the males are fighting amongst each other, they use those to then fight with one another. So those are called modified teeth or tusks. And a horn is a little bit different. A horn is a piece of bone that is attached to the skull that is covered by a sort of hardened hair like your fingernail called keratin, and that's what forms a horn structure. So slightly different, and you'll find that most of our antelope species have horns, but things like warthogs, hippos, elephants, they have tusks, which are these modified teeth. Now, isn't it funny the way that they feed? You'll sometimes see, you can see that warthog's had a good mud wallow. He was like the buffalo earlier, but you see how sometimes they go onto their knees to feed? Maybe the one at the back. There we go. Isn't that cute? So a warthog is a very clever animal because it knows that it has to stretch to feed on grass, and so rather than stretching and kind of pushing its neck down and having to be uncomfortable, it goes onto its knees so it's nice and comfortable to be able to eat. And it's like if you're eating your hamburger, it's much easier if you put your elbows on the table and you put your hamburger to your mouth. It makes a lot more sense than trying to stretch and kind of eat down with a knife and fork. It's much easier that way. Right, so our warthogs are trotting off. I'm going to carry on seeing if there's any sign of anything around the dam. This is an area where there's, like I was saying, the 2 leopards like to hang around, and so I want to check behind the dam wall because they like to lie in the shade there, and you never know, maybe we'll get a nice surprise on the other side here. So you said that none of you are sure what the difference between horns and antlers are. So antlers, which occur on most of the antelope species that are in the northern hemisphere, is a cartilage. Now, cartilage is a part of your body that can grow, and it keeps all of our bones together and attaches to them to make sure our bones stay together. Now, cartilage then grows from the animal's head, and it is there for a sort of part of the season, and then it falls off and goes away. A horn is a bone. It's like your arm growing from your head, and once that breaks off, there is no more, and it will not come back again. So the antlers will regrow every year, but horns, if it breaks, that's the end of it. Right, we're going to try and see if I can't find these elusive spotted cats, and while we do that, let's go back to Jamie and see how she's doing and what she's doing and where she's exploring and whether she's had any luck this afternoon.
I'm also searching for elusive spotted cats, and this morning we had one elusive spotted cat on a termite mound in the form of a young leopard called Hosanna. And the last time I saw Hosanna, he was crouched on top of that termite mound over there, hiding in the grass. And you wouldn't believe how when a leopard wants to hide away, it is so good at lying right down flat and disappearing behind the grass. Now, I've come back to this area just in case he's still around, and I'm sure he is still around somewhere. The question is where? He's not on the termite mound anymore. I have to be honest, I didn't expect him to be. It's hot. The sun is probably, well, it's definitely moved around, so the shade has moved around. I was hoping, though, that he might be somewhere in these shady spots on the ground. But if you're a leopard, they can lie right down flat in the long grass. Do you know how hard it is to find a leopard if it's lying flat in the long grass? He could be just over there, and I'd struggle to see him, and I'm not going to get out and show you what I mean, just in case he is there, and I give him a fright. I don't want to do that. I wonder where he's gone. Well, the next trick then is to go and look at the water holes. That's all we can do. We can hope that he's gone there, unless I go and walk up and down and up and down and up and down. Now, Mariah, let's go from spots to stripes. You want to know if zebra live here. Zebra do live here. And we get a type of zebra called a plains zebra, or the old name is a Burchell zebra. So yes, we do get zebra. We go through times where we see lots of them, and we go through times where we don't see that many of them. I haven't seen a zebra in a little while, but we do get them around here. They are around. And that's something that we'll look to try and show you as well. Our leopard's spots work really well to help to hide it in long grass. The zebra's stripes, one of the ideas as to why they have stripes is it might actually work in a similar way. With the animals all together, when they run away from a predator, it becomes hard for a lion or whatever's hunting them to pick out an individual. What do you think, kids? Which way should we go? Where do we think this leopard is hiding? I can't keep driving round through this block or through the bush until I find him. That would be terribly silly and do unnecessary damage. So I guess we've got to go and look for his footprints. Now, apparently his sister was just a little bit further to the south in that direction. Maybe he's gone to go and join his sister. That's also a possibility, especially if she managed to catch something to eat. Then there's no doubt in my mind that he would go and join her. Because they're still young, they're spending quite a lot of time together. They're only 15 months old, so not even a year and a half old yet. So it might be that he's gone to go visit his sister, or she came here and they moved off together. That's what we've got to go and figure out. I just want to go through here quite slowly, just in case he is hiding here. He's very, very comfortable with cars. So he might not even stick his head up. Which means I have to search carefully. Both here in South Africa and in the Mara, it is nice and warm, which means the cats are all sleeping in the shade. Let's head back across to Brent in the Mara with a male lion.
Well, Jamie is searching for a male leopard, Hosana, one of our favorites. We've got the first glimpse of a male lion, one of four that lord over this northern part of the Mara Triangle. And they don't really have a coalition name yet. Now, they also go across the river to the Marsh Pride. Now, I'm just going to try to show you quickly because he's snoozing. Okay, so pretty much behind that line of trees, there's some very green area there, and that's the famous marsh where the Marsh Pride tend to hang out. And as I said, this is the coalition that's over the Ngama Pride, and they're an offshoot from the Marsh Pride, and he is a big, beautiful boy. And there he is. He's not too far from the females and cubs, probably about 200 meters, maybe not even that far, but he is being very, very lazy, and he hasn't moved since we found him, and he's probably not going to move too much. Hi, Caden. Caden is wondering, do lions eat grass? Caden, they do, but not very often. So lions are predators and carnivores, which means they eat meat. Sometimes you will see lions eating grass when they've got an upset tummy. They'll eat the grass to try help their tummy, but normally they like buffalo, wildebeest, zebra, giraffe, and all the other animals out here. So lions eat the other animals, so they are meat eaters, carnivores. And it is just a glorious afternoon here. Jade, hello, nice to hear from you. Jade would like to know, do all lions have manes? Jade, they do not. Only the boys, and then only again the adult boys, or the big boys, have manes. And the reason they have manes is to protect their neck and back of their head and their throat when they are fighting with other male lions. So male lions will fight for girlfriends, and territory. So that's why they have developed or evolved this big mane. It's to help them protect themselves when they are fighting. Now, the females, which we saw for a very short time a little bit earlier, they don't have manes. A male will only really start developing his mane properly from about 2 years old, where it's quite visible, but it'll only be fully developed at about 6 years old. And I would say he is definitely an adult, probably somewhere between 6 and 10 years old. I haven't really had a good look at his face yet, but maybe, I'd say, just looking at him, he looks in quite good nick. So maybe not as old as 10, maybe 6 to 8 years old. And he's doing what lions do best at this time of the day, and that's snooze. So a male lion will probably sleep for about 20 hours a day, every day, and only move around for 4 hours, and generally that is after dark, or when it's cool in the early morning and late afternoon. So there is a possibility he might get up and move soon. So we're not going to move too far. I think we're just going to keep going up and down between him and where the females and the babies are, and I'm hoping they're going to join together later. Now, Gage is wondering how fast are lions. Gage, they're really fast, but they can only be very fast for a short period of time. Gage, they can do up to about 20 meters per second, but they can't keep it up for very long. So very, very fast is the answer. Much faster than you, me, or Usain Bolt. I'm just trying to see if the lionesses have started moving back towards us. Now we're going to make our way back towards where the females and the babies are, but while we do that, James has got the Little Five, well, a member of the Little Five, who's named after the Big Five lion.
Hello. Yes, I think I understand what Brent meant. We've got here some very special holes in the ground. Now, some of you, and I don't mean any of the kids, but some of you adults would have been watching yesterday evening, and because we've got a TV show on the weekend, which of course all of you can watch on Nat.Geo Wild, then I thought I would just try and see if we could do it again. And you can see I've excavated here. I've taken the creature out of the bush, out of the sand, and he's sitting in the tent now waiting for us. But this is where they normally live. And this is called an antlion, and if you watch carefully, you might just be able to see him kicking sand out. No, he's not. No. Never mind, I have caught one, and I'm going to show you how he digs and how he lives. But before we do that, look here. See, Fergus? There's a tiny little insect. Oh, it's flown away. Sorry about that. There's also a tiny little spider. And you see on the grass stalk here? See there? There he goes. You got him. Beautiful little tiny, probably jumping spider, and he'll be hunting the same things that the antlions are waiting for. Now what the antlions are doing is they're waiting for ants to fall into their pits. And here comes an ant. Watch, here comes an ant. Yeah, he turned the right way. You see, he turned the right way, so he's not going to fall into this pit. And the antlion, if the ant falls in there, will catch him and suck him dry. He will eventually, well, he'll die. Okay, come inside with me now. We've got something special to show you. Let's have a look at the antlion quickly first, I think, if that's all right. Is that fine, Kristen? Right. Now, in here I've got two things, and this is what's so nice about being in the tent. There's the antlion, and I'm just going to show you how small he is first. He's a tiny little thing there in the bottom right-hand corner. There you go. You can just see his little pincers, and we'll put him under the microscope now and show you what he looks like. And then we're going to show you how he digs, and that's really quite fun. Okay, here we go. Let's put him under here. There he is. I bet you can hardly see him. Can you see him there? Now what he's trying to do is dig into this little plastic box that he's in. He doesn't know, doesn't understand why he can't dig, because his brain is very, very small. I know some people with brains this small, but this is a really small-brained antlion. You see that? And you can see the spikes on the top of his head, and those are used to catch ants. Right, now what we're going to do, and we're going to have to be quite quick about this, so come back to me, Kirsten is directing, by the way. What we're going to do is we're going to put him into the sand here, and then I'm going to quickly put the microscope on him before he can dig underneath, and we're going to watch him dig. Okay, let's go. Wait, there he is. Now let's see if he digs. Are you going to dig? Look at his eyes. He's thinking about digging. Now, Dana, you want to know why it's called an antlion? It's just because it's so good at eating ants, Dana. That's why. There, he's starting to dig now. He's starting to dig with his bottom. And you see how cleverly camouflaged he is? Remember, we spoke about camouflage? And we spoke about the mantis that was camouflaged? There, look, he's digging. I'm just trying to keep the picture right. It's not great. There we go. Now he's starting to dig. You can see he's flicking his bottom. There he goes. Look. Oh. Here he goes. He's going to go all the way under the ground there. Isn't he clever? And he's going to disappear completely. And I'm going to show you the sand where he's gone, and you won't be able to see him. Alright, so if you come back to me now, what you'll see is if Fergus shows you the sand, you can't see him. He's gone completely. Isn't that just the best? So now we're going to put him back in the soil, because you must remember, in the wilderness, we want to leave the wilderness as we found it. We don't want to have too much effect on the wilderness. So I'm going to put him back, and he's going to live, hopefully, happily ever after. Let's head back to Jamie just now. I must just say goodbye to all of you. Thank you for joining us on our little safari. I hope you enjoy the rest of your days at school. Okay, so you go and have a good day at school, and for the rest of you, we're going to head back to Jamie.
Very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the continuation of our sunset safari. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Craig is on camera with me, and I absolutely agree with James in that we want to leave the wilderness exactly as we find it. The only thing that we will ever leave behind, of course, is footprints. And speaking of footprints, I've got some exciting footprints going in the direction... Oh, now they're going back the other way. What were these elephants doing? I was going to say there's a whole host of elephant tracks heading towards Treehouse Dam, but that was 10 meters ago. Now these tracks over here are going the opposite way. What have these elephants been doing? Well, it's hot. I'm hoping we're going to get lucky and we're going to get a herd of elephants at Treehouse Dam, because our search for Hosanna has been basically the mystery of Hosanna has been solved by Tristan, who tells me that there's tracks going south into Little Gowrie. So that's the little leopard that we were looking for earlier. I was so hoping we could show the kids the him, but it's just one of those things, the wild out here. Unpredictable which way the animals are going to go. What is predictable though is just how fresh this is. Now let me show you. First of all, when you're looking at evidence left behind by a herd of elephants walking along the road, here we go, that's whoopsie daisy. This has been stripped by said elephants, and you'll usually find after a while, maybe just a couple of hours, it'll start to get dry and brittle. These leaves are still fresh and green and still supple, so there's still moisture in them. And these elephants have come down this road in the last few hours, I would say, but I almost, if I find some dung, I almost want to say even less than a few hours, maybe just an hour ago. Now the tracks are on top of all of the other vehicle tracks, which is wonderful news, because it means there's a very good chance that we're going to find them, and I'm hoping we're going to find them up ahead. So while I follow along the tracks of several different elephants, let's go and see what the drone is seeing from its eye in the sky.
Right, there we are. See, we're in the sky. We're looking at some nyalas there. I found myself thoroughly amusing, as you can see. Right, I'll tell you what I was doing out there shortly, but first let us observe this magnificent nyala bull. He's just walking along, really, looking for some grazing, some browsing. Sorry, I'm getting horribly tongue-tied this afternoon. I'm not sure why. My brain is not functioning as it perhaps should be. I will attempt to do better from this point. If you have just joined us, hashtag Safari Live is how you talk to us, and that of course is on the tweet, that little blue bird you can see at the bottom of your screen, which of course has nothing to do with the nyala we're looking at now. Now these are my favourite antelope. I think they are by far and away the most magnificent. They are the most varied in colour, of course. And I don't know, there's something about them that I find particularly appealing, especially when they're in mortal combat. And they get into mortal combat very seldom. Most of the time, they just sort of posture at each other, erecting that beautiful white mantle on their backs. And then sometimes they will have the most almighty fights, and the skill displayed as they sort of parry and thrust at each other is quite astonishing. There, as you saw, Connor showed you a gorgeous view of our landscape, which is turning sort of golden honey at the moment, mixed in with a little bit of green, but very different from the height of the summertime. And also, what also always amazes me is when we look at the landscape from the air like this, is how much more open it seems from this perspective than when you are driving at ground level. So you've been down with Jamie and with Tristan, of course, and you've been on bushwalk many times, most of you, and you've seen how it almost looks impenetrable in places, but when you get up into the air, the perspective is quite different. And so you can see the space that the animals have to move. You can see exactly where, if you were a lion, you would be hiding. And the best part of this little picture there is that this nyala he just turned off it, he was walking on a game path. And I love the game paths. They just make me feel like there's a sense of real history of the place. Ancient pathways that animals have followed for centuries to and from waterholes. Maybe not centuries, maybe just a couple of weeks, given depending on whether there's a pumped pan nearby or not. But you know what I mean. Going down to the big rivers. I think that's rather pretty. Now, the reason I was outside was that we were looking for the cause of the consternation being sort of expressed by some squirrels over there and some rattling cisticolas over that way. I couldn't find anything, but you know, every single day for the last 4 days that we've been in the tent like this, round about now, in fact slightly later once the sun has gone down, we've had birds alarm calling around here, almost like a predator's come to the Galago Pan to have a drink and then melted away again before anybody could actually see him or her or it. Couldn't really be an it must be a him or a her. So maybe Shongile is around here. Not sure. Now, Rick, you're wondering if there is a program to increase some of the populations of animals around here. Not in the laboratory sense, if you know what I mean. So there is no program of artificial insemination or breeding programs in this area specifically. But there are programs to look after endangered species. The wild dog is the most obvious one. Just about every pack in the Kruger Park has an alpha male or female that has a collar around the neck, and that helps them to monitor what the packs are doing. And if the packs get into trouble, if they get out of the reserve, if there happens to be some sort of disease that they've got infected with, well, then the humans will intervene. But there's no program as such to make their numbers greater other than that. The greatest program, of course, that we can have to increase the number of species and the biodiversity of an area like this is to protect it from human interference, and that includes the interference of the conservation authorities. So the best thing we can do for increasing the endangered species of this area is to just leave them alone. Then sometimes, for example, there are numerous elephants in the Kruger Park. If somebody starts a reserve, buys an enormous tract of land somewhere in South Africa, you can phone the Kruger Park and say, "Oi, I need some elephants," and they'll say, "Well, if you pay to get them, we'll give them to you." And I think there's probably very little money that passes hands there, because elephants are abundant here and they want to spread elephants as far and wide as possible. Same thing with wild dogs. They would take a pack of wild dogs from here, habituate it to an area, and move it into an area like that. Now, outside of an area like this, absolutely, there are breeding programs to breed endangered species and then re-release them into the wild. But those programs you need to look at very carefully. Some of them are very ineffective. Because it's so difficult to introduce animals back into the wild, so it can be that the best intentions in the world are meant by a breeding program, but it can be very difficult to take animals back into the wild. So that's the kind of answer for your question. What have you got there? There was a wasp
carrying a bit of a...
I'm going to try and find this wasp that was carrying a caterpillar. While I do that, Jamie, apparently, I thought she had an elephant, but it must be Casper, the invisible elephant.
Casper the invisible elephant. Casper the invisible elephants that leave footprints and then don't apparently come out anywhere. The trail just died. The tracks just disappeared, and I have no idea where these elephants have gone, so I'm going to guess and try and figure it out. Unless the reason that I saw tracks backwards and forwards is that they've gone back on themselves and back south across our boundary, but I hope not. I'm going to take a guess and go and check a road up ahead of me. Maybe they've popped out there. It's exactly what happened to me yesterday with that herd of elephants. They came from one direction, and I parked my vehicle assuming that they were going to continue on in a different direction, and they didn't. They just stayed. I wonder if this hornbill knows. Gives me an opportunity to stop and listen for branches breaking and the other sounds of elephants feeding. Have you by any chance seen some elephants? Oh, big yawn. Sorry, am I boring you, Hornbill? No? That is a yellow-billed hornbill, and for our new viewers, a lovely bird to start off your bird lists that I'm sure you're all diligently keeping. For our regular viewers, I imagine if you haven't seen a yellow-billed hornbill by now, then we're definitely doing something wrong. There is the somewhat rarer, in fact, you know what, we've got all three species, all three smallish species here, I think. I think, if I go forward a little bit, it just flew away. I'm going to say there's the grey hornbill and a red-billed, all in one collection. No, it's there. Please don't fly away. They're so much shyer for some reason. Can you see it there, Craig? I don't want to get any closer in case it flies off. Here we go. Marvellous. Now we just need the red-billed, and we've completed the more commonly seen small hornbill species. Is that a red-billed on the left there, Craig? Just to the left of the bird we were on. There you go. No, yellow-billed. Yellow-billed. Close enough. Nope, still have to add red-billed to our collection. Of course, the yellow-billed has the most robust bill of all of the smaller hornbill species that we see. And Eclair, that does immediately put one in mind of a toucan, does it not? You're not the first person to ask and to wonder about whether or not they are closely related to toucans. They are not closely related to toucans at all. They are completely separate. Now, toucans, which is something I didn't actually know up until a friend of mine told me about it. A friend of mine with an odd obsession with toucans, and I'm not entirely sure where it comes from. But he tells me that toucans can use their beaks for thermoregulation, which is something that our hornbills don't do at all. So they're completely separate families, and of course we don't get toucans here. And the bill, I guess, is an example of where nature has evolved to have very similar approaches in completely different parts of the world, which happens with lots of different things. I mean, discussing with Tristan the difference between deer and antelope, and the fact that essentially they fill a very similar ecological niche with just some minor or major differences. I was so hoping that while I was nattering on about the hornbills, that I would hear the elephants. but it was not to be. Oh, we've got another hornbill fluttering in. Any chance it's a red-billed? It's not often that we would get all three species in one sighting, but no, I think that's the yellow-billed again. Okay. I can hear a woodpecker somewhere, but I think past our field of view. Wonder where these elephants have gone. My plan, by the way, for the end of the sunset safari is to do a very serious, very focused hyena den search. I want to go and see if we can figure out where they've moved, because I think they have moved. And Herbie agrees, he also thinks they've moved. Herbie, by the way, is an eminently competent guide and tracker who works for Djuma, but also helps to keep us safe when we're out on foot. Not an elephant, and no longer not an impala, actually. It's just run away. No, disappeared. Wow. I'm quite devastated by my disappearing elephants, but it seems that James has decided to keep you entertained with a horrifying story.
It is a horrifying story, the likes of which is going to make your toes curl underneath until breaking point. You are going to go cold, your throat is going to leap into your mouth. Because that's how I feel right now. Now, if Fergus brings the camera gently round to this side, what you will notice is that there is some silk sort of strewn about gently. You see that? Gently strewn about silk there underneath the chair? Right, that's very nice. Now, I thought to myself, I wonder who made that silk. And of course, that silk has been there now, I don't know, about a week. While I've been sitting here, I thought, let me just quickly check. Between the layers here on my seat, and notice that there is a hole here. Okay, do you see this? There is a hole there. There's the hole. Okay, good. So you've seen that. And I thought, well, let me just split this apart. And let's see what's there. And lo and behold, there is the most enormous brown button spider that I have ever seen. It has been sitting within half an inch of my nether regions for the last week. And I now no longer know what to do about this chair. Well, I do know what to do about it. I'm going to throw it away. That is terrifying. It's utterly, utterly horrifying. And I think that is Lactrodectrus geometricus again. In fact, it might be a different species of brown button spider because there are no bubbles or baubles on the top of the egg sac, which she is still making. Now, tell me, everybody, I would like to know, in one word tweet, how it would make you feel if you had realized that for the last week you had been sitting on top of one of Africa's most venomous spiders, not more than half an inch from what can only be described as the most sensitive part of your body. Well, I am quite sure that, like me, you would feel perplexed in the extreme. Oh. Especially when you noticed that there was a slit that it could easily have climbed up through to get at you. That is a magnificent shot. Well done, Fergus. I think it is Lactrodectrus geometricus, given the hourglass there. But it is the biggest one I've ever seen. Oh, look at that thing. Filled with nasty venom. Right, well, I mean, what an appropriate tweet from a chap, or what an appropriate Twitter handle from the first one-word tweet. The tweet is lucky, and it comes from somebody called the Evil Underwear Gnome. Well, yes, the evil underwear gnome, I'd say lucky is a very, very apt description of how I feel right now. Although horrified comes to mind, terrified. Yes, and George, you may have the sort of hyphenated word there, bone-chilling. Very bone-chilling indeed. Anyway, and I mean, this would be extreme TV, wouldn't it? Be like Fear Factor. Maybe I should carry on sitting in this thing for Saturday and Sunday, see if I can survive unscathed. I'm obviously not going to do that because that would be stupid.
Could put another set of undies on.
Yeah, no. Fergus, your wasp is back.
Excellent.
Sorry, I've just dropped this. You keep looking there. I'll see if I can spot your wasp that was carrying a caterpillar. Fergus, that is a very brave shot that you're attempting there. You can't really see your hands, can you? Isn't that I mean, it is a beautiful spider. It really is. A beautifully backlit shot. Do you want some more light on it?
No, we're alright.
Right. Okay, well, from what I think is the most terrifying incident I've ever had in the wilderness out here, I'm going to have to lie down for a while. We're going to head across to the Mara with Brent Leo Smith, and, well, probably the most terrifying predator they have there.
Well, we are moving along from a creature with 8 legs to one with 4, but that is snoozing. So you can't see the rest of the lionesses. They're in the grass around there. So we dashed across to the other side of the lugga. Now, a lugga is a donga, or a big ravine in Swahili, and we wanted to be on the right side where the lionesses were for when they got moving. Now, if we come up from this side and we look up towards the escarpment, up towards Ngama, on that hill, zebra, giraffe, coax hartebeest, topi, and buffalo. Now, there you can just see the giraffe. You see the giraffe here? In the distance there. Now, even though at the moment the Ngama pride seems to specialize in warthog, there's a male around, so there's a good chance that they might get moving and head towards that mass of animals on the short grass around the escarpment. And we just wanted to be on the right spot to follow them when they got moving, because I think what they're going to do is move towards this little road we're on and then head up towards the escarpment. Now, the cubs are still running around. They pop up and about every now and then, and I'm hoping they will pop up onto that termite mound again and join one of the adult females. Now, you've always got to be quite careful, because to get around this lugger we had to go a long way, and I just hope that one or the other lionesses haven't snuck off, so I'm constantly scanning around. Now, remember, we are live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. More specifically, we're right in the northern corner of the Mara Triangle, and it is an incredibly beautiful and incredibly productive area, and that's why this lion pride is doing so well, and is one of the most stable lion prides in the Mara Triangle. Remember, hashtag Safari Live if you have any questions for us about the Mara, the lions, everything and anything to do with this beautiful, stunning part of the world. Now, on our first safari here, if we go down to the Samaki swamp. Now, the Samaki means fish in Swahili, and it's a long way away from us here, but it is incredible the distances you can see. There must be 100 or so elephants spread over the swamp. Can you see them there, Vim? Look at that. Now, we were actually on our way down towards the Samaki swamp till we found the lions, and quite a few of them are looking quite hungry, so we decided to wait it out with the lions. And I'm sure we will get to show you the Samaki swamp in the next couple of days. I'm very excited to just show you every single new area, and it is just the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. Well, Karen says it is so gorgeous here, Kenya is definitely on her bucket list. Well, Karen, maybe you'll see Viam and I bombing around the Mara looking for lions and leopards and cheetahs and other creatures. Hayden is wondering, do lions attack giraffes here? And apparently they do quite often, and as I said, I'm still learning what's going on here, which makes it even more exciting for me. But they do actually, the day before we arrived, a pride to the sort of southeast of us apparently killed a baby giraffe, but they have been known, when the males are present, to take adult giraffe as well. The thing that I find almost unbelievable, especially after all the time I've spent in the bush in southern Africa, is that there were 4 lionesses, and they had a single buffalo bull by himself, and the buffalo chased them for a good 50 or 60 meters, and they had no interest in even attempting to grab onto such a big, dangerous beast, unlike our beloved Nkahumas of the Sabi Sands, who see a buffalo and their eyes light up. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. There is just so much more food around here that they are not forced to go after the big prey like buffalo, and they specialize, while the wildebeest aren't here, mostly in warthogs, from what the guides tell me, but when the males are around, they will go for buffalo. And so quite interesting how, and we must remember that a lot of animal behavior is area specific rather than species specific. So the lions in the Mara are going to behave differently to the lions in the Sabi Sands in some ways, and we've already seen how they really love to use a tree to rest in, to get away from the flies. Today nice and windy, so the flies will be battling, so the lions not needing to scamper up into the boughs of a shepherd's tree to escape the biting flies at the moment. And it's going to be interesting. We're going to learn a lot, and we're going to see some behavior that we're not used to while we're in the Mara. So it is so exciting. Hi, Monique, who's in London. Monique is wondering, have I seen Scarface, the very famous male lion, yet? I have not. I heard he swam the Mara River, and he's actually on the other side of the river at the moment. Apparently his limp is a bit better, and he's looking a bit healthier than he was. Now, tomorrow we're probably going to go head down into the area that Scarface frequents in the triangle side, and who knows, maybe a little bit of lion luck is in order, and we'll see that gorgeous big boy. Now, we're still in the rainy season at the moment, and you can see there are some clouds building. We have some forecast for rain over the next few days, but you have these wonderful big thunderstorms. You can actually drive around them, but you can see forming up on the escarpment. Now, when the clouds, from what I've learnt and chatting to people, when the clouds form in this area, the prevailing winds are going to push them towards Lake Victoria. But when the clouds form to the almost directly north of us or northeast of us, the rain is going to hit us. Now, I actually could see some rain a bit earlier. It looks like it's dissipated. So often you'll just see these patches of rain, and you can actually plan your safari to avoid the rainstorms as you drive around. Of course, you do get the great deluges that you cannot avoid at any cost, but we are all prepared, don't worry. We won't get too wet, the cameras and equipment definitely won't. Oh, it's so beautiful. Ah, hello, James. James is asking, besides the shepherd's tree, what other trees are common there? Now, I'm still learning the trees, but some of the bushes and stuff I know. Have you got that tree there, Vim? One to the right of the lioness. Now, that is Balanites, a torchwood, but it is not the same one we get in South Africa. It is Egypt something. Oh, I can't remember. My brain is failing me. But it is a torchwood, but it's Egypt, obviously named after Egypt, but I cannot for the life of me remember the full scientific name. Naughty Brent. I'm going to have to beat myself and scold myself and get back to my books later. Now, and we along the river, it's very interesting. You've got Walburgias and Egyptia. There we go. Thank you, Master Henry and Djuma. You've got Walburgias. You've got different species of Diospirus, which is a jackalberry, and Acacia tortilis, which is another one we know. And now we've even got woolly caper bushes, are the most common little bushes that we're seeing around here. So we do know those ones from back home. And one of the exciting things is learning all the new trees. Now, there's a whole host of croton species. There's about 5 different species of croton, and which are common name is feverberries, and they are generally up around the edges or in any rocky areas or cliffs. That's where you're going to find the crotons. And there's just so many different trees to learn, and it is so wonderful. What have you spotted, VM? Just looking at the trees. Now, almost all of those are balanites, and of course we're sitting in a great open plain, but why don't we go see what the open plains of Cheetah Plains have in store for Tristan.
Well, we're going to try and rival Brent. Not that it's going to be in any way possible, but we're heading to an open plain of ourselves. We're all the way on Cheetah Plains, and we're slowly but surely making our way to a little open section to try and see if we can't find the 2 elusive cheetah brothers. They've been a bit scarce of late, so I'm trying to see if they're not around this area, and then also just looking around for any sign of Nkanyeni and her cub Vatumi. I still yet to see Vatumi, so I really would like to see him. And other than that, it's just nice to be on Cheetah Plains. It's so pretty out here. The grass is that much longer than Djuma. It's still got this green tinge to it, and it's such a beautiful property. I always find with Cheetah Plains, even if you don't see much here, it's just so nice to actually just spend time and sort of absorb the feeling and the change and the difference that it holds to Djuma. So really good to be out here. And Seb and I have been discussing all things. We had a minor panic attack, I would say. What do you say, Seb? Minor...
Yeah, a little bit of concern.
A little bit of concern because Rusty decided to spew green liquid out of its bonnet, which was just a little bit of an overflow from the coolant, so nothing to worry about, all is okay. But for a second there we thought we had broken Rusty again, which wouldn't have been very popular had we done that. I know Brent is sitting in the Mara and he is probably very concerned about how we're treating Rusty. Brent is very attached to Rusty, and so I'm sure he's wondering if we're keeping her in good condition. But he will, I'm sure, form a bond with the new vehicles that we have up there. I have yet actually to see the names of all of them. I know we've got a few new cars up there. It'll be interesting to see what names they get. I'm sure they'll get some very interesting ones. But so far there's been very little sign of life on Cheetah Plains with heartbeats, other than the trees and the grass and the butterflies, which is normally around. There hasn't been too many antelopes or anything like that. I went and checked towards sort of Djuma Dam side in the hope that there might be some elephants drinking there, but alas, there was none. So now I'm, like I say, going towards Cheetah Plains Open and just checking around to see if there's anything up this way. I'm hoping also maybe there might be some giraffe on the open area. It's so beautiful when the giraffe are there at this time of the day with this afternoon light and those big open clearings. It really is very, very special. And I'm sure Brent will attest to that in the Masai Mara. One of the sort of beautiful parts about it is when you get those big journeys of giraffe going across those open areas, and it's something that we can all look forward to as we explore the Mara in the next few months and going forward in time. It really is going to be such a special thing. And Seb and I were chatting about how amazing it's going to be to have the 2 of them together, and with Djuma it's going to be really, really special to have those 2 sort of sections of the world brought together. So, Chris, in Amsterdam, you're wondering if we ever see aardvarks during the day on safari. Well, I haven't seen one during the day on safari. I've only ever actually seen 3 in this particular area that we're in, and all of them have been at night, in fact quite late at night. I've only seen 1 during a game drive. The rest have been after game drives that I've seen them. But it is possible, and then in certain parts of Africa and in Botswana and parts of the Kalahari Desert, I know aardvarks are seen quite regularly during the day. I haven't yet seen one. There are people that have, I'm sure, seen aardvarks here in the Sabi Sands during the day, but it's not a very common sighting at all. We don't typically see them too often, so it would be very, very, very special if we did see one of those. And in fact, the last aardvark that I saw was dangling from a tree, and Anderson, the male leopard from the western sector, had caught him and caught this aardvark and put it up into this big marula tree, and it was quite a sort of surreal experience driving down the road and there's an aardvark hanging from the tree. It was very, very odd. But leopards seem to really like them, because I know Tingana has taken a few in his time, and I think he's taken 3 or 4, Anderson, I know of 2 different ones he's taken, so they're obviously a bit susceptible to the leopards, and that's maybe why we don't see too much of them. Maybe their numbers are quite low from the leopard density that we do have in the Sabi Sands. That could lead to the fact that these guys sort of numbers taper off a little bit, and that they are very shy and reclusive and secretive. Now, I was very sad when Anderson killed that aardvark, because it was an aardvark that was being seen more and more regularly. It used to live at a den, or a termite mound very close to a hyena den on Elephant Plains. And a few of the guys saw it in the space of about 2-3 weeks. It was seen, I think, 4 or 5 times by varying different guides. And it was starting to get quite relaxed with the vehicles, and it was even to the point where we got vehicles to actually respond to the sighting, which is quite strange. And then Anderson came along, and I'm pretty sure it's the same aardvark, because it wasn't too far from that termite mound that we found it in the marula tree. So that was not a very good situation at all. I was quite upset about that. Now, we are coming up towards Buffalo Pan, and so there is a few sort of signal issues from time to time, so I do apologize if there's a little bit of a breakup in picture. It shouldn't last too long. It's normally just one little section that we go through. But it's a great pan to check because it's really in the far eastern corner. It's tucked away. It's often a one that holds things that nobody really checks, so it's a great place to come and look. Now, we're going to try and just get through this little tough signal area, and while we do that, let's go across to James, who's still playing around with his spiders and hopefully will not get bitten this afternoon.
This one is not nearly as terrifying as the last one. Yesterday, it was yesterday morning, I think it was. Was it yesterday morning? Yes, it was. We found a bark spider that had built a nest or web over here, because spiders, well, they can build nests, but normally they're webs, and it would have hit me clean in the face as I'd walked through here. And then in the afternoon I came back here and I said, well, the bridge line must be over here somewhere, and the spider must be here somewhere. And that was completely disastrous, because we then didn't find anything. But I found the bridge line today, and you probably won't be able to see it, but what I'm going to show you is its constructor. Now, if you follow this grass along like this to this leaf over here, you will see something that looks like a thorn, and that, everybody, is a beautiful little bark spider, Mrs. Bark Spider. She is shifting in the wind a bit. I'll just try and hold her still. Is that better?
Yep.
Good. Isn't she fantastic? And that's where she sits for the whole day. Right, everybody, we're going to go off for a short break now. Of course, when you come back, I believe that Jamie may well have some elephants, and perhaps there'll be some luck with those leopards. Hello, everybody. Obviously, we didn't go to an advert break because we're just practicing for the television special, which is, of course, on Saturday and Sunday, 3 to 5 o'clock Central African time, Nat.Geo Wild. That's all I have to tell you. Good. And it's a celebration of Mother's Day, of course, which maybe this magnificent spider is. So what she will do now, either tomorrow morning or this evening, normally in the evening, but we found another one of these this morning, building a web in the morning. She'll come scuttling out here. She'll sit in the middle there, and she will then let out strands, support strands, which will go down towards the bushes, and then she will start to build the actual web, and that'll stay like that until the morning. Then she'll come back in, and she'll wait there for the whole night, eat whatever flies into her web, and then she'll eat up the silk during the course of the dawn, leave her bridge line and scuttle off to live on one or other side of these gory bushes. And what she did was, she started there. Well, there she is. She's now going back across. She started the other side, and then when Fergus first put the camera on her, she scuttled out onto the web and moved across to this side. She's so cool. I know it's probably a bit sort of shaky because of the wind blowing on her, but really I'm so impressed that we managed to find her, and I hope that we're not going to sort of disturb her web too much. Fergus and I certainly won't, being roughly 3'5" and 3'4" each, and so as long as we keep the likes of Gendre away from here, we should be okay. and she should also be okay. Problem is, we'll probably forget by tomorrow. Isn't that wonderful? I think that's great. Then, what I just want to show you, Brent was showing you and telling you about the rain. This is fairly odd and unseasonal cloud that we're having over here. And I don't think there's any rain in the offing, but unfortunately it does look like we're going to be having some cloud for our television show on Saturday, which is not ideal, of course, but maybe the Mara will be sunny and that will be good. Now, I think that Connor is looking at some water. Now, apparently, yes, that is indeed twin dams, is it? Yes, it's Treehouse Dam, it's not twin dams, and that's where the buffalo were. You can actually see the buffalo there, I think, in the far end, the far western end of the dam there. Are they there? No buffalo, they've moved off. This is where we had a wonderful elephant sighting today. And some have said, and I mean, I think I'm in disagreement with some of my colleagues, who I just got a shiver because I've sat down on my chair, but I remembered that I had replaced the chair. Some have said that they think that these dams are starting to get dry quickly and, you know, that it's going to be tough times again in the winter. I'm just not sure that that's true. I think they look pretty good at the moment. And I think the dams are much bigger than they were this time last year. Of course, they were expanded in expectation of the deluge that, well, frankly, never came. And so it looks like they're holding much less water, I think, at this time last year. But I really don't think they are. And I think the animals are going to survive just fine through the winter. There's plenty to eat. There will hopefully be quite a lot to drink. And with any luck, we will not be having anything in the way of vast and unpleasant fires during the fire season of August, September and October. Well, anyway, up to the first rains, of course. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous shot. Now we're looking out east towards Mozambique, east over the Great Kruger National Park and into Mozambique. And about 80 kilometers or 120 kilometers or so away is the vast Indian Ocean. And I don't think Connor is able to fly his drone all the way to the Indian Ocean, which is very sad. Now we're going back to TV. Shh, shh, shh. Hello everybody, welcome back to your live safari. We are having the most wonderful time out here and I hope that your mothers are as well. Hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us and my name is James Hendry. I've now got nothing else to tell you because I've run out of things to show you. Okay, I'll try and find something. In the meantime, let's head across to Tristan, who I think is probably closer to this wind that I am on Cheetah Plains.
Well, James, Cheetah Plains is looking spectacular. It is not quite the Masai Mara, but it is still so beautiful out here, and I really love spending time on Cheetah Plains. So we are going so slow just to check everything and see what's going on. Unfortunately, there was nothing at Buff Pan. I'm yet to find something very interesting there in my afternoon jaunts to Buffalo Pan. I keep hoping that I'm going to bump into something rare that comes out of the Kruger, like a caracal or a serval or something like that. But alas, not yet. And I'm sure one day it'll happen. Just got to keep trying. Now, as you can see, we've come out into the plains area, and I just always go slowly because the grass here is at that length that if the cheetah brothers are here and they're lying down flat, it's going to be almost impossible to see them. It's a very sort of long grass, and you've got to go a little slower just to make sure that you scan everywhere and check and don't miss anything. The one sort of positive sign that there might have been some sort of disturbance is that there are no other animals out here that I can see. Normally when you come onto Cheetah Plains, you'll find Norman the Gnu, which is Brent's favorite wildebeest, and he's normally around. And there's often some impalas that will be around, and every now and then some zebras. So when you don't see any of them around, then sometimes it can mean that there's been a little bit of a disturbance, and so maybe, just maybe, our cheetah brothers have come through here. Although I think I see old Gnormless Norman and the Gnu in the distance over there, which we'll go a little bit closer to shortly. Now, unfortunately, now that I'm on Cheetah Plains and I really wanted the afternoon light, the sun has gone behind a big cloud and it's become quite dreary now. It's not as impressive as I wanted it to be. The sun is misbehaving, or the clouds are misbehaving. Which one is it? It's just sun or clouds? I'd say clouds are misbehaving, Seb. So hopefully they will move off quite quickly and then we'll be graced with that beautiful golden light across the plains areas. But so far not very much, not even any birds to speak of. And it's amazing actually coming to Cheetah Plains and seeing, well, not hearing the monotonous larks. It almost became synonymous with this area. You would drive on here and you would just hear the monotonous larks calling. And so for those of you that are new viewers and are not sure about what the monotonous larks are, they're a little bird that flocked here during our summer this year, and they don't keep quiet for 1 second of the day. They just call and call and call and call and call. And when you came onto Cheetah Plains, there was just this cacophony of bird calls sort of blowing out over the open area. And so it's sort of quite strange to come through here now, and it's eerily quiet now that we're going into winter. So the elephant whisperer is back in action again. She's out and about and has managed to find the namesake that she has. So let's go across to Jamie and see what she's doing with the elephants.